Welcome back to the Rolling Grill. Yes, that is what you think it is. That is a stand mixer. We're going to make some bread here today, y'all. I think with the climate going on the way it is right now, everybody needs to know how to make bread. So that's what we're going to do today. So we got some sugar, we got some yeast, we got some salt, we got some oil, water, and of course you got to have flour. So y'all stay tuned. We making bread right here on the Rolling Grill. Yeah, boy! Guys, let's get started. First things first, 1 cup of water. This is an 8-ounce bottle. We're gonna add that. So what we're doing right now is we're getting ready to activate the yeast. And then this is 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. We'll add that in there. Try to get all of it out. And then mix that thing on around. We're gonna let this sit here for a while and activate, and then we'll move on to the next step. And what you should see once this starts to activate is it should start bubbling up. So we'll come back and check it out. All right, before I forget, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of sugar to this because you know we all know sugar is what the yeast, what really activates the yeast. That's what's really gonna drive the yeast crazy. So 1 tablespoon of sugar. Guys, 30 minutes later, that's what we're looking at. Our yeast is now activated. Now we can go on and start building this bread. Look at that. And if you look close, you'll see it bubbling. Anyway, let's get to it. All right, y'all, let's get to it. Now we're gonna take our yeast mixture, add it to our bowl. Right to that, we're gonna add 1 egg. We're gonna add 2 more additional tablespoons of sugar. All right, we're gonna add 1.5 teaspoon of salt. And then we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of oil. And I'm using avocado oil. It's just what I have available. All right. And then let's get to mixing. We're gonna put our, let me see if I can show y'all. Put our paddle on there. Drop it down, and on the low, we're just gonna beat it up for a little bit. Not beat it up, but just mix it up. All right, next up, we're gonna add 3.5 cups of flour. And I'm gonna add them 1 cup at a time. Drop my mixer. Work it on in there. Okay, as always, just like making a cake, you wanna get it off the sides. I would use my my camera stand for this, but it's just better just using it with my hand. All right, and then 1 cup of flour. You know, you really want to level it off, but I'm just shaking it off. That's my 2nd cup of flour. Same process, and when I bring you guys back, we'll be on our 3rd cup of flour. 3 cups of flour, and as you can see, it's starting to tighten up a little bit. That's all right. It's still wet. Now I'm adding my last 1/2 cup of flour. And there we go. Mix this on up. And then after this, we'll start the process of letting it sit. Let me get this mixed up. I'll be right back. So off. And what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to get all of this off of that paddle and into the bowl. So I'll show y'all what it look like in a minute. All right, there it is. And I have it in the bowl. Now I'm going to do is flip it over because, you know, from what all the experts say, you want to make sure you have both sides oiled so that you don't develop a film. So now I'm going to let it sit in this bowl. May take an hour, may take an hour and a half, may take 2 hours. And we're going to let it rise. And so when we come back, I'm going to put a wet cloth over it. Hopefully it's risen enough that we can move on to the next step. All right, I have a damp, heavy-duty paper towel over it. I couldn't find any tablecloth, any usable cloth. So I have a wet paper towel on top of it, and I'm going to put this in a warm spot in the kitchen, preferably right over the stove. It's not on, but it's warm over there, and we'll let it rise. All right, folks, it's been about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Let's see what we have. Let me take it off this way. I had a wet paper towel on top of it, and you can see how much it has risen since then. So this is what we're gonna do. Put a little flour down, a little bench flour. All right, put that over there. Let's get rid of that, and we're just gonna let it fall on out of there. It's real sticky at this point. Look at that. Get all of it out of there. All right, so to make sure that I don't get it too sticky on my hands, let me get these out the way. It's over here. I'm gonna make sure both of my hands have plenty of flour in it. And I'm just gonna roll it around. Because at this point, what we're doing now is we're gonna start kneading the dough. Basically, pressing it out, folding it back in, pressing it out, folding it back in, pressing it out. What you're trying to do now is activate the glutens in this bread. And this is an all-purpose flour. I didn't use a bread flour, I use an all-purpose flour, and I'm just basically using the palm of my hands. Folding it back over itself, palm of my hands. Folding it back over itself, palm of my hands. So I'm gonna do this. It may take me about 5 minutes, but I'm gonna keep doing this. Every time it gets sticky, keep adding flour to my hands. And I'll be back in a minute. Got to knead the dough. All right, still at it. Making sure I keep plenty of flour on my hands. And I'm just gonna knead the dough. Pushing it forward. All right, so I have kneaded this dough for probably about, this is all-purpose flour, so I've kneaded it for probably about 5 minutes. So to let the gluten relax a little bit, I'm just gonna let it sit here for about 5 minutes, and then I'll come back. In the pan it goes. All right, I let the dough rest for about 5 minutes. Nice and pliable now, as you can see. So you could of course do this by your hands, but I'm gonna go ahead and do a rolling pin, and I'm just gonna stretch it out a little bit. I ain't no bread maker, you know, but I think everybody right about now needs to know how to make some bread. With the way things going on now, you need to at least know how to do a few different things, because this virus has really put a lot of people, has really made a lot of people nervous about a lot of stuff. But anyway, enough of that. All right, so at this point, 9x5 bread loaf pan. Basically all I want to do is grease it down real quick, real good, all over. Get it in there real good. Now I'm going to fold this in. Basically, I'm rolling it up, just like that. Then I'm gonna tuck the sides in. That's what all the experts say do. And I'm gonna take my pan. Let me come back over here. Take my pan and lay it right there in my pan, like that. And now we have to let this proof for another hour, or maybe an hour and a half. And we'll know when it's ready because the bread will have risen above the pan, basically. So off to a warm spot for another hour, and then we'll put it in the oven, hopefully, finally. So y'all stay tuned. All right, guys, just wanted to show you guys, this is only 30 minutes into our hour time. I was gonna let it rise for an hour, and this is 30 minutes already, and you can see that it's coming up. Not ready yet, but it's getting there. All right, folks, this is 1 hour. I'm just gonna turn this thing around so you can see. Just gonna turn it around so you can see. See how we got about 1 inch over the lip? It's about 1 inch over. Nice rise, nice puffiness to it. So we're ready to go to the oven, y'all. We're going to the oven, 390 degrees for 20 minutes. All right, y'all, I am walking into the oven. I got my oven at 390 degrees. We're gonna let it sit in there for about 20 minutes and do what it do. Homemade bread, y'all. All right, y'all, and just like that, 20 minutes later, that's what we got. Let's go ahead and take it out, put it on the table, and get it up out this pan. Y'all see what the Rock is cooking. Look at that loaf of bread, y'all. Now, I'm going to take it out of here in a minute. I just want to let y'all see. Look at the rise on that thing. Man, if y'all don't learn how to bake y'all some bread, I'm going to use this for Texas toast. Because you can't find Texas toast at any of the stores around here. But look at that. Come on, man. All right, y'all. While the bread is still warm, let me get this out of the way. While the bread is still warm, we're going to go ahead and take some butter. And we're going to go all the way around the top. That will ensure that we have a nice, smooth, moist, delicious. I mean, if you like it crispy, if you like a crispy crust on your bread, then by all means, you know, skip the butter. But I want this butter to soak into mine. Look at that. Boy, look at there, look at there, look at there. That boy in here baking bread, y'all. Look at that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the pan, because if you leave the bread in the pan, it will start to steam, and you don't want to start to steam your bread. So this thing is super hot. Let me do this without making a mess. Now, it should fall right out of here. Look at that. Boy, y'all better go ahead on. Look at that. Boy, your boy here baking bread. Look at that. Look at that thing. Look at that. Flip it on over. Come on, man. Look at that, y'all. Come on. Look at that bread, man. Look at that. Look at that, man. That boy cooking barbecue and bread. So we're gonna let it sit here and rest. You gotta let, you know, I'm not gonna cut it until it cools all the way down. Because again, I'm gonna cut this into Texas size, you know, Texas toast size. So that's it for now. Bread done. We're gonna let it sit here and rest, cool down. May take an hour, who knows? We'll be right back. Yeah, boy. All right, guys, our bread is done. Beautiful. It's cool for probably about an hour, hour and a half. But it's ready to go. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's go ahead and cut it. See how it came out. You definitely want to use a serrated knife. This is actually the knife I use for my briskets, but it's serrated. And I'm gonna start down here on the end. Matter of fact, let me take it off of this pan. Let's get this out the way. Let's start right down here on the end. Just cut a few slices. Like I need to sharpen this knife a little bit. All right. There we go. Pretty thick. Pretty thick. I'm gonna test it out. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little sandwich with it. So y'all stay tuned. Let's make a sandwich. All right, there you have it. There goes our nice, beautiful bread. Thick cut. I will say this, you definitely want to let it cool all the way down. I can still tell in the middle a little bit, it's still a little bit warm. But I mean, if you just buttering the bread to eat with honey or whatever, then, you know, by all means, cut it when it's hot. But just know that it's not going to last long, as far as a few days if you cut it while it's hot. It'll start to dry it out. But that's it, man. Bread, man. Bread. You never think that you would need to learn how to cook to make bread, but you never know. Still support your local bread shops, but by all means, you still gotta learn how to cook it. So, as always, good food, good vibes, and good bread. Yeah, bye.